Hello everyone, my name is Gerald. Welcome to Studio Ploy.
For me, it's a yes.
Going straight into the actual unit, this is how the space looks like when I first visited it for Ocular. It had two bunk beds on both sides of the room with a washing machine underneath the AC provision inside the bedroom and an unfinished kitchen wall cabinets. A little backstory, Danny and Arlen communicated with me through email and provided me with these photos of the unit and wanted an 80K or roughly around 1,450 USD budget makeover. I asked them what were their wish lists for the 80K makeover. For one, they told me that they wanted to have a divider inspired by my previous projects. I immediately had this idea of a white French-inspired divider for the space, but I was unsure if they'll consider the idea because most of my previous projects they're referencing were in matte black. Luckily, I think I manifested it because Arlen doesn't want any black touches to the unit and would only want gold or brass for the hardware and accents. Without doing any major works, they wanted the unit to look bigger than it currently looked, bring back the original queen-size bed they previously had, a living and dining separated from the bedroom, and brighten up the space to make this 28 square meter cozy and homey, perfect for Airbnb. My initial observation for this space was it's a little dark even if the windows are from floor to ceiling, which is kind of unusual. Certainly one concern that we are going to address and having these photos as our inspo. With the choices of furniture and some other items, I was inspired to do a style with more contemporary elements into the aesthetic, which I would later refer this project as Farmhouse Chic. The next development would make the 80K budget impossible to achieve with the addition of some major items like the 3-seater sofa, the dining set, TV, and some other stuffs that the budget went up from 80K to over 200K. And since they're based in Singapore, we had to do a lot of Zoom call meetings to finalize everything, and eventually we came to an agreement of doing a not-so-budget makeover. With all the revisions, we agreed to execute my proposal with this final mood board as a reference. Moving into the actual renovation process, normally I would dedicate the first day for paint swatching to check on what paint would suit best for the space. Again, I would advise to those going to DIY repainting the rooms or spaces to test out at least 2 to 3 different paints because as I mentioned on our previous projects, the same white paint would look different in two spaces with different orientation and location and on how the lights are coming into the space. For this project, I picked 2 white paint in warmer tones and a lighter gray option. The gray is actually the same paint I used for the Grage Minimalist project, but here it is intended for something special that we're gonna create later for this space. And since our goal is to make this space look bigger and brighter, I went for this one in the middle, which is white on white. We started our second day removing these floating shelves, some curtain hooks, and rectifying all the damaged parts with putty and filling in those cracks and holes in the walls and prepare an even wall surface before paint application. And since the unit were recently repainted with matte paint, we can actually proceed on applying the new paint, but if the previous paint were glossy, I would do this step of sanding the entire wall surface before repainting para kumapit ang paint or for the paint to adhere well. By the way, the paints that we're gonna be using are from the same brand we've been using since day one, and it's by Davies paint. I will link up all the products I use here for this project in the description box. Going back, I always prefer using their BioFresh option because aside from it being water-based, It's odorless and has antibacterial property. I also love that it's fast drying and the finish is extremely durable, which are major consideration for our paint to last longer. And as always, I'm going for the satin finish, a medium gloss sheen that's shinier than matte but not as shiny as semi-gloss paint. We are going to paint over the old paint with 3 coats of white on white for the entire unit, including the bathroom. Two weeks into the makeover, Asibar Glass came in to install our French-inspired divider. I had to schedule the installation a little early on the makeover as I would need the actual divider as reference later for the biggest faux shiplap that I'll be doing for the project. Unlike our previous projects, we're doing white framing for the first time and a sliding door to have a full option of enclosing the entire bedroom from the living and dining area. Also with the glass panes, it will all be in clear because aside from budget concerns, I would need the light coming in from the window to still pass through it. I mentioned earlier on that I'd like to address that the unit is seemingly dark even with its floor-to-ceiling panoramic windows. And we can't achieve that if I would go for something that would block the light even with the frosted ones. I would also want to keep it see-through so we still achieve that airy feel to the space. I mentioned earlier that we are doing something special for the unit using our silver gray paint. I've actually done this technique before but on a smaller scale. This is going to be my very first time doing a faux shiplap for the entire bedroom and living room walls. By the way, though I presented a mood board with shiplap inspo in it, but the owner doesn't have any idea initially of this as it wasn't included on the quotation. My initial idea was to do it vertically, but since noticing that the unit has already higher ceiling compared to the previous condos that I've done, I decided going for horizontal as it would create an illusion that the unit is longer than its original dimension. This was the crucial part. I had to adjust the first mock-up while still keeping it aligned with our French-inspired divider. The upper and lower part must also look natural, similar to an actual shiplap installed, and I have to scale it up just exactly that it would make the room look more bigger and at the same time doesn't make you squint looking at it. Though it looks simple, I actually had to consider a lot of factors doing this one. Finally, after a few trial and errors, I came up with the interval of 15 cm and a 3 mm gap. In creating the gap or lines, I have to make it as natural as it looks, so I'm applying the paint in a tapping manner. I have to reapply another coat once it dries up and remove the tape few minutes after application or before the paint completely dries. I came up with this procedure when I did the bathroom for our SqM makeover video of removing the tape before it fully dries, as it results to a more polished and cleaner line. Just make sure though for the tape not to touch the wall so it won't stain it. Para di lang madumihan, kundi para di din masira ang patterns. Then I just replicated the same process to create the whole shiplap wall. I wanted initially to cut off this part, but I thought this might be of help. I thought of reusing the other side of the tape for two reasons. One, it still do its job, and second, frog tape is kind of expensive compared to regular masking tape that it would be practical to maximize its use. Then finishing the bedroom part before moving to the living area is kind of crucial for the whole shiplap wall because I wanted the bedroom and for the living area shiplap to look perfectly aligned as possible. The bedroom shiplap will be our guide with our line level laser to keep it aligned and leveled together and make it look really intentional. Moving to the kitchen area, we have an existing kitchen cabinet that's left unfinished, no doors, and still unpainted. Due to budget constraints, we are going to upcycle and make it more functional. We are going to paint it and install some cabinet doors to make it usable, and of course, for it to look elevated. We immediately went on covering the entire cabinet with putty to cover in those joints and some plywood imperfections so we can achieve a really smooth paint finish, and also to make it water resistant since the area is exposed to water and moisture. We are also going to be covering the upper part with a 4" by 3/4" thick plank since its height is a little too high for the standard cabinet dimension. I just hope that I would be able to find cabinet doors that would perfectly fit it, because based on its dimension, I would need around 4 doors for this one. It took us 2 coats to cover the cabinets with putty before we sanded it off and make it ready for painting. For the primer and paint, we used Davies' Timber Prime and water-based QDE, which is the AG100 white, to cover the entire cabinet. We did 1 coat of primer, then 3 coats of the QDE to achieve our desired finish. Similar to the kitchen cabinets, we are also upcycling an existing bed frame. This was actually the client's bed frame before they had the bunk beds. The stain used for the bed frame was too dark and looked a little outdated. It also does not match with our theme, so I decided to repaint it in the same white paint we used for the cabinets. We also did almost the same procedure, except we only spot applied the putty to some areas instead of covering the entire frame first. And it took us 2 coats of the primer and 3 coats of the white water-based QDA paint before completely covering its old color. We are kicking off our furniture installation with this bed frame that took us a week to repaint, but I am so happy that we did repaint it with white, as it looked more elevated and perfectly fits our overall theme for the space. For sure, Danny and Arlen won't recognize that it's the same bed frame they sent me. I only had minor problems for the slats connector though. Some were already missing, but we were able to replace and fix the connectors and some missing screws. Moving to our second item is this Vihal's nightstand that I got from Ikea. Because of the tight space in the bedroom, I looked for something that would snug cleverly on the available space and conveniently add storage space to the bedroom while keeping that simple yet functional aesthetic. I also love that you can place it anywhere easily with its built-in casters, maybe by the sofa, beside a desk, and of course beside the bed, or wherever it comes handy. Our next furniture to assemble is this mom 3-drawer chest, also from Ikea. This will be our replacement for the wardrobe due to budget constraint. Though we initially considered a 2-door wardrobe for the space, it was beyond the client's budget. We have to weigh in on which furniture to prioritize, and in consideration, since this space is designed for short-term rentals, that normally wardrobe would be a little impractical or not so much needed, so we settled for chest drawer. At this point, you might probably be asking, how would you be hanging clothes if there is no wardrobe? We also thought of that, and since normally the target market for this type of space are those who would be renting for holidays or work, I thought of adding in a clothes rail. Initially wanted it custom made, but found this Nordly clothes rail, also from Ikea, that perfectly fits our requirements and the dimension of our chest drawer. I also thought of gifting the clients with my favorite stool. After noticing that the kitchen cabinets were a little higher, this would be very useful in the kitchen area as a step stool or even as shoe fitting stool. This next item is one of my favorite for this space. It's the foldable and expandable table. I mentioned earlier that we've allocated some of our budget to some priority items that's multifunctional and would add to both aesthetic and function of the space, and this is one of it. One major consideration why I proposed this table is because it is very space saving, and at the same time you can adjust the table from 2 to 4 seater by adjusting the drop leaves according to need. It has also built-in storage for napkins, some flatware, or even utensils that makes it perfect for tiny spaces such as this. If you were able to watch my top 10 IKEA favorites for small spaces, this one was actually my top 9. It's the Söderhamn sofa from IKEA. I super love the sofa's chic and expensive look that it would definitely elevate the overall look for the living area. We've got this armless tree seat because of the limited space. I wanted that you can freely move or stretch out as much even with the tight space. Another item from the IKEA favorite is this whole side table. The aesthetic perfectly fits our theme for the space, and it also gives warmth to our all white walls. It is also both a storage and a side table in one, and it's a great solution for decluttering. You can store stuffs for the living like throw blankets or even magazines. I always love incorporating mirrors to small spaces. This time it's an 80 centimeter round mirror in gold framing to accentuate this area of the dining and to reflect the lights coming in from the windows to brighten the area without adding additional lighting fixture. Instead of the usual artwork that I would put above the sofa, I decided to install 2 levels of 120 centimeter ledges. I went for the white options for it to blend our white walls and for the stuff that we would be filling in to be the highlight. Few days before the reveal, we are scheduled to go accessory shopping today, but before that, we have to drop by in BGC to sign some documents. I am very much excited for this one, as this would be part of Studio Ploy's future growth plans. Right after, we went to the closest H&M home to get some accessories. The clients requested for a no black accents, so we're getting mostly items in the shade of gold. I love getting stuffs from H&M home, though some items were sometimes a little expensive. My technique is to wait for them to go on sale, as they do it often, except for some really nice stuffs that mostly limited that you need to get them right away. The day wasn't finished yet that we rushed to the Dapitan arcade as we still need few more accessories. I would normally visit this place for some really nice yet affordable items. You just need to patiently look and scan each stalls, and syempre dito makakatawad ka. This was 3 days prior to reveal. Finally, our pre-ordered living room light fixture arrived that I have to pick it up from Estancia in Capital Commons and went back immediately to the unit in Makati, as we also expect our kitchen cabinet doors to be delivered. While waiting for the cabinet doors to arrive, we also started installing this drop light for the bedroom. Roughly around 2 hours before the cut-off to do some noisy work, Our cabinet doors finally arrived, so we were excited to install them. Unfortunately, because of the adjustments that we did to the existing frame for the cover to fit in, we were not able to anticipate how the cabinet hinges would be placed, and it was a little off. We had to move the installation the following day as we needed to purchase the conceal hinges drill so we can adjust one hinge to fit into the frame. I have to be extra careful in drilling. Aside from, honestly, it's my first time doing this, though I have seen and observed how it's done from carpenters and woodworkers. I might drill it through, and we don't have extra cabinet doors, and purchasing a new one would take 3 to 5 days normally for it to be delivered. I was not able to film it, but we covered the original provisions for the hinges and painted it in with white to match our cabinet doors. To add in a nice detail to this cabinet doors, I went for brass knobs for a timeless clean look that complements our overall style. I have also added in this rail and accessories to give that elevated look for the kitchen. Another request from the owners was to replace the old kitchen faucet with a new one in brass or gold. Finally, we're installing the chandelier for our living area. I have to prepare for a backup on this one, as it took this item 9 weeks before it finally arrived from overseas. I had to do a couple of follow-ups and even considered picking it up from their warehouse. Luckily, it became available on their show store 3 days before our scheduled reveal, enough time for us to install it. This was the same shelf that we removed from the living. I thought of reusing one of it for the bedroom as our under TV shelf. We're upcycling or reusing some stuff for the unit as we intend to keep our makeover on a budget. Instead also of putting the TV on the living, we install it on the bedroom, but we made sure it is still visible if you're sitting on the living room sofa. I have been looking for a white shelf for the bathroom that's water or moisture resistant. Unfortunately, I couldn't find one within the budget. I found one in red, so I decided to spray paint it together with this watering can and was so happy with the result. The day wasn't over yet, and this was the night before reveal that I have to do the custom artwork that I would normally create for each and every project that we're doing. I will not be fully satisfied if I'm not able to execute what I envisioned for the space. So I finished this one around 2 a.m. and had to retouch it at 8 a.m. of the same day. Few hours before the reveal, we still have a lot to do while we began our styling with the installation of the curtains. My idea was to start from the bedroom towards the kitchen and living room area so Elsa could clean up after each area is completed. Thank you so much for those who watched the whole makeover process up to this point. I hope you guys enjoy the final outcome in 3, 2, 1.
guys na-exceed yung expectations.
I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This project has gotten a full circle moment like situation already. And I am just happy I'm able to share another project again on this channel. For our upcoming contents, we've actually finished a couple and working on some exciting projects. Next year is going to be very hectic as we start a new era for Studio Ploy, and that's actually going to start on our next video. I hope you guys stay tuned for that. Today is already the 23rd of December and it's only 2 days away before Christmas. From Studio Ploy and from my family, I wish everyone a very Merry Christmas. Again, I want to say thank you to Davies Paints, and you guys watch out for some cool DIY projects in the pipeline. I think I've been given a lot of information already. That is enough for now. I'll catch you guys on the next one.